Hey guys, before we begin, I'd just like to announce that after this video goes live, probably at around 7 PM Eastern Time, I'll be playing some Empire War with one of my favorite YouTubers, Captain Shaq from the XP Gamers. Specifically, I think we'll be playing the remake mod. If that's something you're interested in, check out my Twitch channel, there will be a link down in the description. Anyway, roll the intro. Black holes are one of the most interesting phenomenon in nature, essentially a region of space with gravity so strong that once beyond the event horizon, not even light or particles can escape. In the Star Wars galaxy, where space travel is extremely common, black holes are incredibly dangerous. They heavily interfere with interstellar travel, while also being a source of some very strange and esoteric resources. The galaxy also had many famous black holes, including the supermassive one at the center of the galaxy, the twin black holes of Doran, homeworld of the Keldar, and, most famously, the Maw. A fear of black holes was healthy and helpful to surviving if you were going to spend any time in space. However, many were struck by something beyond the rational fear. And Ben Skywalker, in Fate of the Jedi Outcast, explains that while some, particularly scientific-minded people, can look at black holes from an analytical point of view, most are disturbed by what they see, and Ben specifically sees the twin black holes of Doran like a pair of evil eyes. However, in that moment, Luke also explains that Force users, and Force sensitives in particular, have a real dislike or even dread of black holes. He assumes, and I quote, that the Force derives from life. Even death is not all that disturbing to a Force user, since it is a necessary consequence of life. Black holes are something else, a cessation outside of life. Maybe the way they draw in all energy and trap it forever runs against our instincts. Basically, as Luke explains it, black holes are almost like a stellar version of Islamari. They represent a point void of the Force, because black holes are totally void of life. They're almost like a universal garbage chute, not only destroying light and matter, but even void of the Force. He further explains that Force-sensitive children hid at shelter during the Yuuzhan Vong War did not like being in the Maw, surrounded on all sides by black holes. He says to Ben, "You're too young to remember, but the Jedi caretakers at shelter said there was a lot of crying." Just to explain a little backstory, during the Yuuzhan Vong War, the Vong went on a purge of Jedi, so younglings or those not fighting were often hid at shelter within the Maw cluster. This is a really interesting point for a couple of reasons. It suggests that being cut off from the Force in this sort of way is almost innately terrifying even to young Force sensitives, but it transitions into another point, and that's the connection between black holes, especially the Maw cluster, and Abeloth. In reality, and this is pretty crazy, the Maw was constructed by the Celestials with the help of the Killik in order to trap the immensely powerful being known as Abeloth from the galaxy at large. And while this was mostly successful because of the immense natural power of black holes, in Fate of the Jedi, we learn that children who had spent time at shelter, again near the Maw, began to develop what was known as Force psychosis, basically an illness of the mind which led them to believe that all of those in their life had been replaced by imposters. This often led to violence, as was the case with Corran Horn's children. It's very likely that this Force psychosis was brought on because of Shelter's proximity to Abeloth, again an extremely powerful Force being who was able to dominate others. The same was true for the Mindwalkers of Sinkhole Station. Abeloth was an extremely powerful entity, powerful enough that the Jedi and Sith actually came together to fight her. I wonder whether her association with black holes somehow led to Force sensitives having an innate fear and dread associated with them. Regardless, I think it's an interesting connection. Palpatine can also be associated quite heavily with black holes. In Plagueis, he quotes a passage which says, "What celestial body is more luminous than a singularity, hiding in plain sight, but more powerful than all?" On another occasion, Dooku refers to him as a black hole in the Force, purely dark with no light whatsoever to be found. This is distinct but similar to Darth Nihilus, who, rather than exuding purely darkness, is instead a wound in the Force itself. Black holes have other evil associations in Star Wars. For example, the Yuuzhan Vong were able to generate black holes with Dovin basils, and that was their main method of defending their ships. On a different note, Palpatine's henchman, Chronal, a dark side force user, sometimes took the identity of black hole, especially when working for Imperial intelligence. So to summarize, Jedi in particular find black holes disturbing because of the way that they're totally void of the Force, and perhaps due to their innate connection with the being Abeloth. That being said, even ordinary beings were in awe and fear of their pure destructive power, and for that reason, black holes were often used as symbols of the dark side or of evil, whether that's the case with Chronal, black hole troopers, or more. Today's question comes from Martin Westron, who asks, who, in your opinion, is the best Imperial officer, not including Tarkin or Thrawn? First of all, I don't think I would include either Tarkin and Thrawn in the list of best officers. Tarkin was a cruel megalomaniac, and Vader I don't think cared about the Empire at all, rather he wanted power, and was more interested in himself, and I guess his master. There are three who I think are really good. The first would be Veers, who's basically described as a tactical ground genius, and who helped innovate on Imperial Walker designs. The second would be Grand Admiral Thrawn, just due to his sheer intelligence and his ability to plan. I mean, with a few Star Destroyers, he almost managed to beat the New Republic. The third would be Captain Pellaeon, just because of the way he handled the Empire after the end of the Galactic Civil War. He kept it relevant, he changed it to be better, and he made the Empire really for those who wanted law and order, rather than the Empire of the Old, which was an autocratic, hateful, dangerous, liberty-infringing organization. Without Pellaeon, the Imperial Remnant would have fallen apart, and I think you can make a good argument that he is actually the best or most important Imperial of all time. That, however, is just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Reminder again that I will be playing Empire at War with Captain Shack tonight over on Twitch. There's a link to that down in the description. Anyway, until next time, guys, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.